This is the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, sponsored by the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. If you're interested in the intersection of real estate, blockchain technology, AI, and more, you've come to the right place. Don't miss your opportunity to attend the Blockchain Real Estate Summit 2024, happening this September 24th through 26th, online for our worldwide audience. Get your tickets at blockchainrealestatesummit.com/registration. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of the Blockchain Real Estate Summit podcast. I am Michael Flight, and I am here with Jason Fishman, the CEO and co-founder of Digital Niche Agency, which is DNA. He is the expert in all things marketing. Your mind is going to be blown by this interview. But I'd first like to talk to you a little bit about the Blockchain Real Estate Summit is coming up in September 2024. It is September 24th through the 26th. It's all online. It's 3 separate time zones. We've got Europe, we've got Asia, we've got the Americas. So you don't want to miss that because we have some insanely brilliant people like Jason on the call right now. So Jason Fishman, give us, well, actually, I want to start with the fact that everybody talks about tokenization and blockchain and deals and everything else, but nothing ever happens until somebody can see it. So that's why we brought you on to talk a little bit about marketing and how to fill your funnel to make the sale. So with that, Jason, give us a little bit more information, your background, how you became an expert marketer, and why you chose the niche of financial services.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Michael. Had a blast participating at the event 2022 in Austin, and then last year digitally. Looking forward to the event in September of 2024 here as well. I'm a marketer, wanted to be on the front lines of performance, working on business plans in the early stages of my career. I agreed. Awareness, traffic. It's really what separates the groups with market share and those that no one knows about. So I started my career, moving into the world of marketing agencies, got involved with a social gaming startup here in Los Angeles, was part of the seed capital fundraising round, $3 million back in 2010. Ended up merging with an advertising sales firm, and that's where I really start my career path most of the time when speaking about it on panels or interviews like this. Was in ad tech, worked with many Fortune 500s, saw what worked, didn't work across a whole spectrum of industries, budget levels, timelines. Wanted to get back into that world of entrepreneurship, startups, and created the agency to focus on early stage to mid-market organizations. For me, it's more exciting, more rewarding. We're directly part of our clients' growth, and creating DNA in 2014. We're growth hackers. We were working on marketing campaigns in many cases to take brands from 0 to 100,000 followers, 100,000 customers. I found fundraising to be a common theme, a common initiative among our clientele. Whether we were working on the marketing section of a business plan, an investor pitch deck, a first marketing campaign to be scaled with capital, even participating in the investor meetings themselves, clients would say, "Hey, we really like the way you talk about our growth and the analytics. Can you actually just speak to our investors?" And it was a regular occurrence for me. So when I was introduced to 506C of Regulation D, basically a filing that allows for solicitation to accredited investors, individuals with over $1 million net worth outside of their primary home, or 200K individual income over the past 2 W-2 years, 300 household income. I saw an opportunity because now was able to use my marketing skill set to effectively bring on capital for my clients. Our first campaign raised $2.83 million. Next campaigns did well, was introduced to more, was told about Reg CF and Regulation A+, and had advertising live day one of Reg CF, regulation crowdfunding, that allows for that same type of marketing, but to both accredited and unaccredited, non-accredited audiences, retail
Jason,
investors.
I'm going to interrupt you because there's like a fire hose of information, and I don't want people to lose,
Sure.
track of it. And we are going to like put a pin in Reg CF because I wanted to go back to when you say fundraising, a lot of the people that we work with, it's also capital raising. It's
Yes.
capital raising for a deal. It's
Yes.
capital raising for a company. It's capital raising for an idea. And now we get into a lot of the things that you work around are, I don't want to say all crowdfunding, but the marketing basically is bringing the crowd with the money to your particular deal.
Correct.
Is that exactly what you're doing?
Exactly.
Okay. And when you say 506C, you talked about that. The 506C is accredited investors. Those people are a little bit more well off.
Hmm.
They're looking for a lot of passive investments and things like that. Now let's talk a little bit about Reg CF, which is
Yep.
regulation crowdfunding. And I know you also do some Reg A's, which also
Correct.
allows it's kind of like a mini IPO. But let's
Correct.
talk about all that stuff and then some of the things that, because we're most interested in real estate
Yes.
and how to bring people into your individual real estate deal, into a fund. But I'm also, myself work with a lot of startups that are looking for venture capital or, Series A or seed funding. So we can get into all that.
Absolutely. And the next year, 2017, I get into blockchain and then into real estate. Although my first real estate deals were through 506C. And I've worked on these accredited investor raises that typically have a 25 to 50K minimum. I've worked on commercial real estate, Regulation D campaigns up to $250,000 minimums, entry points. I've worked on them as low as $10,000 as well. Um, Not quite real estate, but for a company called Boxable, as a foldable tiny homes and has raised over 160
Oh,
million
those are the
through these
guys
vehicles.
out of Las Vegas, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Opening Warehouse 3 manufacturing out of Las Vegas.
That is such a cool company. I'm not into the tiny homes, but they've got such a great niche,
Yes.
especially for portable housing and immediate housing. It's fantastic. So
Absolutely. And it's like you said, Michael, I'm targeting investors and bringing them down marketing funnels.
yep.
Funnels, digital term, taking audiences from awareness. We were mentioning that initial recognition of the deal, awareness to consideration, intent. There's a conversion rate even from audiences that intend to invest to those that actually do. If you're incorporating retail investors, I would say a strong percentage of them are going to invest multiple times. 10 to 30% of them I see on a Reg CF or Regulation A plus deal, allowing for retail. And advocacy, peer-to-peer marketing is really at the bottom of that funnel. So we'll use advertising, we use outreach, we'll drive prospective individuals, prospective groups in some cases into these marketing funnels, have content, engaging them, nurturing them to the point of conversion and all the way to that advocacy stage. So I've worked on over 400 investor marketing campaigns that have collectively produced 9 figures of capital. I was mentioning Reg CF and Reg A, got involved with blockchain, Web3, as what we call it now, in 2017 for first around crowd sales, later with DeFi, with exchanges.
Were those early blockchain deals, were those IPOs or were you doing things peripheral to blockchain and crypto?
So the first campaigns were crowd sales. Uh, Initial coin offerings later took
Okay.
names of initial exchange offerings, security token offerings, and I've worked in some of those in real estate, and some campaigns on U.S. investors. I've spoken at conferences in 8 countries, so I've been able to build relationships in a lot of these different regions and target different investors accordingly, and you know real estate across the board, even Reg CF and Regulation A, especially after 2021, but most commonly using a 506C Reg D filing, and various types of tokenized setups as well.
And we're most interested in the tokenized part of it.
Yep.
So for non-US investors, some of the non-regulated things, and for US investors or in certain markets like Europe and things like that, Singapore, it would be more of a security token offering.
Sure.
So you were talking about marketing funnels, you were talking about nurturing a list and building it. So if somebody has experience but is doing a cold start in terms of fundraising for that, um, do you recommend more of an email list? Or I've seen a lot of crypto projects just be very successful with active communities and creating communities on Discord and Twitter, and I'm sorry, X. And
That's right.
I don't want to be banned from X now.
I
uh,
correct myself regularly as well.
yeah, but no, so setting up those type of communities, Telegram is another thing that's just really taken off, and now I even see WhatsApp is really pushing groups. So we've got so many different directions to go in. And I know there's no one size fits all, but what have you seen that are some of the most successful to get investor eyeballs on a particular fund, project, or deal?
Yeah. Some of the early campaigns we worked on utilized Telegram and, 50 million in a week, 2 weeks. I mean,
Wait, stop. You said you raised 50 million in a week to 2 weeks?
yeah, the
I,
early 2017, 2018 cryptocurrency crowd sales
mhm.
were unlike other initiatives I've worked on to date. Very fast, and communities that really stimulated social sharing, uh, peer-to-peer marketing all the way throughout. So we were able to drive traffic to see these communities grow, and then would be able to apply different algorithms to project, if a community size was, 30,000, 40,000, how large it was getting, how many investors would come out the other end. It would help if there was a private sale to validate the rounds before the public sale went live. And yeah, we have case studies and different metrics we've published around some of these campaigns.
I just want to stress the fact that I told you guys that Jason is one of the most expert, high quality marketers you're going to hear. But this is a guy that just said, he put together campaigns to raise 50 million in a week. So,
Mhm.
and I know that can happen in crypto, but just the ability to, get that teed up and everything. So that's really just amazing. So on the more mundane stuff, if I've got, multifamily apartment building in Kansas City, how do we which I don't do at all, but how do we build crowd excitement for something like that?
Hey, there is good inventory out there. And it's the same concept for me from the high level view of targeting investors and bringing them down marketing funnels. Through that, people don't believe what they see on the internet. You need to be able to show what I was mentioning, from the private sale to public on the other initiatives, social proof and third party validation all the way throughout. Publisher logos, lead investors, uh, for real estate, you want to make sure your metrics are front and center. They need to be able to speak for themselves. It needs to be a no-brainer to be able to pull your target audience from whatever they're doing online.
Can we
Whether
break this down? Because I don't know if everybody knows what social proof is or
Sure,
some of that. So you said social proof, you
yeah,
like logos, like a company, like uh
yeah. So first of all, social proof, it's social dynamics, and I think everyone can understand in different contexts. I like making the contrast of the empty restaurant sensation
okay.
versus the new spot in town with the line around the block. You may not even know what they serve at that restaurant, but you may tell, your wife, your partner, friend, hey, I wanna go there. Hey, it
Right.
looks good.
Right.
You know nothing about the menu, the product, but just because there's that many people putting their time into that offering, there's something that stands out, some legitimacy. Where the empty restaurant, maybe the venue looks good,
Yeah.
the menu, the venue, the staff, but no one's there.
Right.
Is something off? Maybe something I don't understand. Did something happen here? Should
Yeah.
I? Yeah,
Maybe the food is poisoned or something. And yeah. So,
exactly. And we really follow these cues many places in our everyday life. I could give a lot of other scenarios, the pool party and being first to hop into the pool. I mean, there's so many different things in our life that we base off others.
right.
And, beyond that, the delivery of the content, there's a saying in the book Sapiens of the more times we hear the same information from the more sources, the more we believe it.
Right.
So if everyone's talking about your deal, far more of a likelihood that you're going to see a favorable conversion rate. A favorable conversion rate, by the way, Google says an average conversion rate is 2.35%. We'll round it to 2%. When I'm working on a retail campaign, the average investment may be fairly low. Let's say it's $3,000, 50,000 visitors at a 2% conversion rate means 1,000 investments, 1,000 conversions. If you're, hitting these levels, not easy to do. It's the single most important metric is that conversion rate in terms of the marketing analytics. And if those investments are coming in at an average of $3,000 each, that's $3 million capital. I've worked on Reg CF for real estate with these types of goals. Reg D is much different. I talked about some of the minimums there. Maybe you're seeing an average investment of 100K, but it's a longer sales cycle. You're probably going to have a lead come in and then follow up with the lead offline, or have some type of longer digital marketing funnel, digital content automation system. You're sending them a lot of emails to get them to convert. So it's a blend, but the point I'm trying to make with that is you're going to need a whole lot of traffic, relatively speaking, to produce the amount of investments that you need to substantiate your goal. In my experience, I've worked on, Reg D campaigns where, one investor, a few investors close it out, but I'd still rather project conservatively. And there's a strength in numbers. You're going to have more of that crowd effect that we're talking about, that line around the block, especially if you're going after higher volumes, for your round,
But
for your
what you're
capital
saying
raise.
is that for every 100 people, maybe 2 to 3%, 2 to 3 people will invest, and that's a good conversion rate.
Well, if it depends what your first conversion is. If it's an offering page that says invest here and you're
Okay.
able to hit a 2% conversion rate, you're in a good place. That may average out at a much later point and may not be your first 100 visits. I'll see, issuers, companies, offering, shares in these deals, that have had less than 1,000 visitors, and they're telling me that their page doesn't work. When I would really look at that as inconclusive data.
Uh-huh.
But yes, in a larger scale, if you have 100,000 visitors to an offering page and you're able to get 2,000 conversions, you're in a good place. That means 98% are not moving forward. And what I was mentioning about what that first conversion is, if you have a $50,000 minimum, it's likely not going to be, hey, here is all of my information, financial, personal.
Right.
Uh, let's move forward. I have worked on Web3 deals where that occurs, even the private sales for some of those early crowd sales that I was mentioning. Uh, but more commonly, it's a lead form, and an investor relations team is following up with that individual, or at a minimum, you have them entering your community, your Discord, your Telegram, your WhatsApp, where they're
Okay.
receiving more information on a regular basis and then participating at a later point. And you want to make sure there's enough engagement all the way throughout that interaction so that you see that conversion rate at the end of the day. If you're getting a good conversion on that first lead form and then your lead to closing, is that a good point? And just to paint that picture, if we're running advertising and maybe every $50 you spend is a lead on average, $5 to $10 on this platform, 100 or more on that platform, but you're going after quality, not just the cost per lead. And then 1 out of every 50 leads, I've seen groups where it's 1 out of every 100 leads turns to a accredited investor participating and moving forward. You may be at a $2,500, $5,000 cost per acquisition.
Sure.
If your average investment's 100K, that could be 20x, 40x.
Right.
Maybe it's a higher average investment. Maybe it's significantly, more of a return for you. You wouldn't want to count on those metrics, and you wouldn't want to focus just on the cost of capital as much as getting a marketing system that actually works for you. And then from there, optimizing to continually improve the cost of capital.
Okay. And one of the questions that comes up a lot is, I know you want to start early and you want to create, I mean, everybody says, well, create the mailing list and everything, but what is like a good time frame to start introducing the opportunity? And I know this might vary from a crowd fund for, a startup company versus a particular deal. I know it might be different for people that have already had successful, like let's say they're a real estate developer and they've already had, 2 or 3 successful deals, and they come out with a new one. But, from like a cold start on a real estate deal, when do you think people should start preparing and getting people interested in a community built?
Sure. So if I'm speaking to a prospective client, if I'm speaking to an issuer and just giving them marketing recommendations, marketing tips, one of the questions I'll ask that is a, indicator to me on, how successful they can be and in which period of time, not the sole indicator, but something that speaks loudly, is their audience. How large is their audience? How engaged is their audience? Uh, who could we anticipate coming in during the first day, the first week, maybe the first month of the round? Because again, we need to show people are investing in the deal.
Right.
And, the saying, everyone wants to be first to be second, meaning, a large anchor investor came in, everything looks good. They're now hopping on board.
Hmm.
So if there's a first degree network, Telegram community, Discord that's large, responsive, and they're going to participate early on, we can build off of that. We can create messaging that speaks to the caliber or volume of people who have already participated in the deal. So that being said, start early. You may have to be creative on how you are building that audience, but it can be a social page. It could be one of these community platforms. It could be an email list. It does not even need to be the name of the entity that you're going to be raising around. There's a lot of creative ways to build audience. But if you're bringing on a few new followers, a few new signups, a few new community members a day, it really adds up. Let's say you're bringing on 100 a day through marketing efforts,
Hmm.
and you then experience a 10-month delay. Um, that's an extra 30,000 people that you
Right.
can build out in that period of time. Sure, 10 months of marketing and marketing resources, whether it's internal team members, external partners, perhaps media budgets, but if you're announcing your deal to 30,000 people from there, you're going to be in a much better place. So I really encourage founders, marketing teams to begin with the marketing strategy. We have a marketing strategy program that takes about a month. Not saying that to promote us, but saying It takes us, 4 weeks. I've done workshops where we're doing it in 4 hours or 3 days. But you want some time to think about it, some time to process what you put down, revisit, edit a bit. But you put together a strategy, an algorithmic roadmap in terms of how you're hitting your goal. And I put out materials around that. I lead workshops on it, as I mentioned there. Wrote an article in Forbes about it. And starting with that plan is actually a differentiator in my eyes from the groups that raise the most, and those that contact me a month or two in and saying they're not getting any investments and they need to figure out something. So I recommend starting with the strategy and then using all of the remaining time until you're live for pre-launch marketing versus waiting until you're up and running and trying to make things happen from there. You could beyond the audience building itself, you could test messaging and see what the audiences are physically responding to. We always have assumptions going into a campaign, but we need the data, we need the analytics to show us what's actually working. And beyond the audience and the testing, relationship seeding, so whether that's with publishers or groups, strategic partners that can promote your deal,
Can
gives
you
you more time
define
to work on all of
relationship
this.
seeding? So that's somebody that you're setting up a relationship with, or
Yeah.
drill down
Yeah.
on one.
So investor email newsletters,
Okay.
they go a long way. There are paid opportunities where it's almost like an advertising campaign and media buy, but a publisher of a newsletter will charge the issuer, X amount of dollars, maybe a few thousand, maybe a few hundred, maybe 50,000, 100,000 for mentions, and they have all of the data to back it. Of hey, we'll charge you 50K, you'll probably get 150K in investments out of it. There's different types of offerings. There's then publishers that will not accept payments from issuers, and they charge investors. So they'll say, hey, for $10 a month, $100 a month, a few $100 a month, we're going to give you our picks, our tips, our recommendations. You can invest alongside these famous individuals, or leverage the research, the analysts at this team. Uh, there's often upgrades where it's 500, 1,500 per month, and they'll then pick one out of 100, one out of 1,000 deals to promote on their newsletter. There's a waiting list. Even if you're selected, it's probably going to be a couple months or more before they actually talk about you. So if you don't have the timeline available, it's a huge, loss. It's a big missed opportunity. Those I've seen, 8 figures produced from digital, emails going out, promotions. I'm just talking about one category when I'm pointing to email newsletters. There's various types of press, from everything from bloggers to mid-tier publishers, some of the top domain authority websites. There's obviously some of the social groups that we mentioned, the communities within Reddit, Telegram, WhatsApp, Discord, LinkedIn, even Facebook, believe it or not. There's various types of investor groups that if they talk about you, it could go a long way, but you can't just hop in there and be promotional. You have to find inroads, engage, add value, and then over time, maybe people are asking what you do, and something can be born out of that. But I learned the word seeding from celebrity and influencer endorsements many years ago, before it was even called influencers, 2009, 2008. And, they could take time to build. There's always paid opportunities. There's, thousands of influencer platforms, and you could pay a few hundred to a few $1,000s for many different individuals to post about you. You can have them create content that you then run on your channels or run as your advertising, which looks very strong. You get an influencer saying, hey, this is the best opportunity and check out these numbers.
Right.
It can perform very well. But I would start all of those discussions early. So I usually see groups run out of time. We'll work on the last week, the last few weeks of a campaign in some situations, and able to perform. They're able to raise, millions in that period of time. We'll see groups that's, talk to us early and then kind of disappear until
Right.
they go live. I would definitely enroll the audience in beginning early with their strategy and audience building.
Can we circle back because you said you do marketing strategy, but you also mentioned, and I want to make sure that the audience knows about it. You guys have like regular workshops. I don't know if they're weekly or every other week, but you have regular online workshops where you take some of the best people in the industry and talk to them. And I know you also have a podcast. So can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about those two free resources that you offer?
Sure. I have a podcast called Test Optimize Scale. That's my philosophy towards marketing, entrepreneurship, growth, summarized in 3 words. And have over 160 episodes out, all with different guests. I'm putting out an episode weekly. I call it 50 episodes a year. And 30 to 45 minutes about the guest, organic discussion around their vertical, and then recommendations in terms of what to test, how to optimize, especially when it's not working right out of the gate, and then tips, any examples towards scale. It's a lot of fun to put out. I've had some of the top issuers in the space on, portals, lawyers, accountants, a lot of people who work in the world of digital capital raising. I then do a monthly webinar each month on a different topic. A lot of the categories are around strategy, content marketing, advertising, outreach, and creative design, videos, visuals to engage your audience. We have programs around each of those internally, and I have internal team members, so department heads, um, different employees, people who work on high volumes of these campaigns over time. Some of the top to date physically talking about what worked on some of these rounds, and we create a new deck, a new presentation for each one. You can find videos for both the podcasts and webinars on YouTube. If you search my name, Jason Fishman, it should come up. Also, if you search Digital Niche Agency DNA, I think it's Digital Niche Agency dash DNA on YouTube. You'll see playlists. So there's a playlist of over 40 webinars, playlists of, again, over 160 podcasts. I have guest appearances at conferences. I believe I have my panel from a blockchain real estate conference in Austin in 2022, other podcasts and things like that I've been on. And as part of those webinars, there are links to templates and documents, and I have a lot of materials to share.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And I, want to just reiterate, you can have the best deal in the world. You can have like the highest returns in the world. You can have the best sponsor, but if they don't know about you, they're not going to find you. So that's why we brought Jason on, and Jason is a master of doing that. Now I want to ask you a little bit, what do you think is the most fun out of all the types of things that you work on? What do you think are the most fun projects to work on?
The most fun are the ones that are moving. So we we worked on a Regulation A plus campaign. It's very relevant to me, so I'm just going to mention it real fast. Issuer named Adam Beam. So not real estate, but it went live yesterday, and we had been working on the pre-launch and the test the waters for 6 months. Regulation A plus paperwork. There's often delays. Charles Yaumans, the CEO, the founder, took advantage of that period of time and took in reservations, over 7 million in reservations. And in the first 24 hours of the campaign, over 1.5 million of that converted into investments. And
Well,
by the time you're seeing this, it's likely much larger.
I need to stop you, and then we're going to go through the whole thing again.
Yeah.
You just said some gold right there. You said
Yeah,
they took in reservations before they had the offering up. Uh,
correct.
is that something that is not taken advantage of enough?
Yes. A lot of different filing. There's Reg A, Reg CF, Reg D, right?
Right.
Regulation A plus and Reg CF allow for what's called test waters, which you can take in reservations. You can do so without you're going to want to speak to a lawyer and accountant, but without completing a filing at that. There's very minimal work that you have to do to physically launch this. And if you were able to, get a sizable amount of interest, you could then take the necessary steps to formally launch one of these campaigns and then bring in a percentage of those reservations as investors. I say a percentage because that's realistically what happens. Uh,
So
10 to
give us the exact
30%.
give us
Yeah.
the exact example again with Adam Beam. So how that happened. So he started his pre-reservation campaign like 6 months early, or
Yes. Now I should mention we've worked on Reg CFs with them before, three of them.
okay.
Uh, they all produced 3 million. And as a result, has thousands of investors that own shares and can tap into
Yeah.
to reinvest and buy more shares to
They know,
market.
like, and trust the
It,
company and the people.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're talking about a B2B company here, not B2C. So, there's misconceptions of, oh, who would want to talk about it? Crowdfunding, it's only for, tech hardware or whatever it may be. I think for blockchain, you have very vocal audiences and you're able to bring on these ambassadors
Right.
as investors where, percentage of them will repost. They'll talk about what you're doing with each new update and announcement. So for this Regulation A plus campaign, $20 million goal, to be able to run a test the waters and come out of the gate with over 1.5 million in the first 24 hours is a big deal. The trajectory, the foundation, what we're pointing at, it's much different. The optics of getting to a page and seeing, 1.5, 1.7, 1.9 million raised, and in the first days versus getting there and there's 10,000, 110,000, even 610,000 raised. It's a dramatically different experience.
Yeah. Well, Jason Fishman, I really want to thank you for coming on today and giving all this knowledge out and everything. If somebody that hears this, how would they find DNA, Digital Niche Agency? How would they find some of your stuff? And they wanted to get in touch with you and learn all about how they can run a successful marketing campaign. Can you give us a little bit more information on how to reach you and some of your freemium stuff?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I welcome a warm marketing conversation anytime, whether we have the opportunity to work with you or not, and make it one of those fun, exciting campaigns we work on that are moving very fast, or whether I'm just sharing notes. I enjoy this and invite it. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn and send me an invitation, send me a message. We could set up a call from there. You could go to digitalnicheagency.com after checking out the YouTube that I mentioned, or go to the website and then link over to the YouTube. You can send an inquiry form there. You'll also find resources to our articles that we put out every other week, different templates. But I would reach out to us for a call. You can call it a free consultation. Tell us about what you do and your initiatives. Can give you a full overview on DNA and our marketing approaches. See if there are any ways to collaborate, to work together, and have a lot of major groups of blockchain real estate that I'll be able to speak with you about, talk about specific analytics, speak to what you do accordingly. Can even structure a campaign where we're driving similar audiences that we've built with data mining to your deal. So be the top 10% of issuers that really move it's a large percentage that are stagnant and do not. I look at marketing as the differentiator between those, and make sure you're getting enough traffic. Really map that out. I'll give you a lot of ideas around that. Also, work with Michael. He really is good at what he does. He's been talking about me, but I've seen him in action and cares. So I would absolutely get in touch with Michael to further the conversation there as well. We're just on the marketing side. We're just in our lane around traffic and content.
Well, if you want to be a mover in the raising capital or fundraising, you are going to want to talk to Jason because it's in his DNA. We are going to have Jason's LinkedIn address in the show notes. We're also going to have Digital Niche Agency DNA in the show notes. And we're also going to have a link to their YouTube channels, because I have said that the stuff that I'm on Jason's mailing list, and I have forced our marketing people to go and show up at the webinars, because the stuff that they're literally giving away is pure gold. So with that, we also want to make sure, and Jason said it, and we have a disclaimer at the end of every thing, but none of this was financial advice, none of this was legal advice, and none of this is accounting advice. So you have professionals that you can rely on for that stuff. I do want to point out that Jason, again, has graciously accepted an invitation to participate the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. So he will be there when we are online, September 24th through the 26th. So I really appreciate you coming in, Jason. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Michael. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, hosted by the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. Don't forget to sign up for the Blockchain Real Estate Summit 2024, happening this September 24th through 26th, online for our worldwide audience. Get your tickets at blockchainrealestatesummit.com/registration. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to follow the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback really helps increase the visibility of our show, allowing us to reach more listeners like you. If you have someone in mind you would like us to interview, you can go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com and leave a comment.
Hi, this is Adam Carswell, the voice of Liberty. This podcast is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to provide tax, legal, investment, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, accounting, or investment advisors before engaging in any transaction or undertaking. Thank you for listening to the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, which is a part of the Blockchain Real Estate Summit Network. Go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com for more information, free reports, and giveaways with free stuff. Thank you.